Hey, Pino, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're here to chat a little bit about the new program, Sage Intacct Accountants. But before we jump into that, can you do a little introduction, kind of your role at Sage, and kind of a little bit background around Pino?
Yeah, for sure. So, Pino Biase, I'm the AVP of Channel and Accountants for Sage Canada. So, essentially, my remit is anything partner for new client acquisition in Canada. So I work with our VARs, I work with our accountants through our managed service program, Sage Intacct Accountants. I've been here just over a year now. And most of that year has been understanding the business, learning the space because it is fairly new to me. But yeah, my whole career has been working with VARs. So I've been in the channel in Canada for over 30 years. And all of that work has been working with partners. So I really understand, why clients should leverage partners and where they drive value. Yeah. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Awesome. And just to put it out there, I mean, Canada's had a strong partner ecosystem in the accounting space, which has been Sage for accountants. And we're talking Sage Intacct Accountants today. Real quick, from your perspective, tell me the why of Sage Intacct Accountants for Canada.
I think, Canada's an SMB country. First and foremost. So there's a lot, I think we skew more to, smaller organizations generally, like enterprises make up a very small percentage of companies in Canada. So as, accounting firms are looking for different ways to engage with those clients and helping them as they grow. Because luckily the economy has remained pretty strong in Canada, even, given some of the, the geopolitical things that are going on in North America, the economy has remained strong. So companies are still growing, they're acquiring, they're being acquired. So, providing this type of service to firms who may not want to invest in their own FTEs early on, but have challenges that, larger companies will have, being more automated, not having enough people, maybe not having the right skills. A program like Sage Intacct Accountants aligns very well to that. Accounting firms can provide, complete services, more high value services, drive more insight, and leverage technology to make, their clients' day-to-day business much easier.
Yeah, in that light, and tell me if you agree with this statement. I feel like historically accounting firms have provided outsourced services or advisory level services that were transaction heavy. And we're starting to see a shift more into value added services, CFO level services, FP&A, things of that nature. Why do you think firms are going that direction? And how do you think that's helping them deliver that value to their clients?
Well, I think there's like a bit of a paradigm shift in, what value means. And I think for a long time, it was all around billings and, more transactional type activities or services that they were offering. But clients, I think their expectations have changed. AI is a big part of that. So I think firms have to shift from providing services like tax prep and bookkeeping and things like that to more advisory driven services, but also finding a way to leverage technology in doing that because there is still cost pressures and some of that work clients want it to be done faster, more efficiently. So they're going to have to find ways to be able to merge in advisory services that will add value to them versus, again, just kind of the basic services they might have been offering in the past.
So, from your perspective, when it comes to accounting firms in Canada, what challenges do you think they're facing trying to go up market, provide those like value added services, those CFO level services versus the kind of traditional transactional compliancy level services that's been more of what's been delivered historically?
Yeah, I think they need to understand that technology is a big driver of how they do that. They need to provide their clients with better tooling, better dashboards, better analytics, and a solution that will help them scale as they grow. So not only will help them today, but will help them down the road. And a lot of clients and a lot of those firms are maybe using, some simpler tools. They're going to tap out at some point. So they need to get into solutioning and technology that will support their needs today, but also there's support their needs as they grow. And as some of these firms, as they want to move up market and bring on more upscale clients, bigger firms, they're going to need these types of tools to be able to provide the service and the value that these clients are going to expect, above and beyond, again, some of the services that we talked about early. So all that real time ability, scalable infrastructure, as we're going to add more and more AI capabilities to the solution and the console as well. So, how do they leverage those to drive value? So, I think it's a bit of a paradigm shift in how they've done things. And it may not be right for all firms. Some might have that visionary nature, some may not. And some might be happy just staying where they are and offering those services. But the ones who really see an opportunity in the market to drive more higher value services and get out of that, you know, cost competitive, lower level services to driving higher value, higher revenue for their firm and, driving more high value services, which of course they can charge more for. But again, always keeping that in mind that, things are going to change, things are going to evolve and making sure the platform that they're leveraging grows with them.
Yeah, and I think there's this kind of sense in the marketplace from accountants that Sage Intacct is this enterprise product, this ERP, and they don't know that it's approachable for that upper SMB, lower mid-market solution. What would you tell firms that about Intacct when it comes to that, where it fits in the marketplace and where it fits to their client base?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Sage, I mean, we're an SMB focused company, probably more on the MB. But the reality is, Sage Intacct is very powerful and could upscale and go up market quite a bit. It's not an area that necessarily we're focused on, and there might be that misconception, but the reality is, it's more about what the client needs from the solution more so than whether Sage Intacct is more focused on the smaller end of the market or the higher end of the market. If they need multi-entity and some other capabilities that may not be in other solutions, like that's what they should be looking at is like, what are the features within the product that will help me leverage those tools to make my clients successful? Not necessarily whether it's considered, enterprise, which it's not. That's not an area that Sage is focused in. But I think if we could scale if we needed to, but really we're focused on helping, SMBs and helping these firms provide value added services to those clients. So I would say definitely we're laser focused on the SMB market. It's purpose built for that market, and it'll give them the capabilities they need to make sure that they always scale with their customers and provide services that will add value to them.
And in your words, if we look at Sage Intacct Accountants as a program, how does that really support the firms in their goals? And why did Sage find it necessary to really define a dedicated program to accountants?
Yeah, I think not every client is going to be ready, to bring on a new accounting platform, a new financial platform. For a lot of reasons. Maybe they don't have the FTE budget. Maybe they don't want to bring the skills house. So looking to someone they trust, which would be, the accounting firm that they work with, to look to them to say, how can you help me in my growth and this acquisition I've made, or, this private equity funding I've gotten, whatever it is that has changed the dynamic of their organization. They may not be ready to make those changes on their own. And, if they're looking to their trusted advisor for direction, they may look to have them provide that as a service. Maybe that could be infinite, or it could be just at such time where they feel like they want to take it in house. So this program really gives them the power of Intacct without having to have it, be on site, on premise, used themselves. They can actually leverage an accounting firm that can provide those services, leveraging the power of Intacct, but not having to bring the solution in house, which again, not all clients will be ready for. So this offers a good middle ground for either again a long-term service or maybe a stopgap until they're ready to bring it on themselves.
Perfect. And let me ask this question from what you've seen and in your opinion, what are some of the great examples of when accounting firms clients really have outgrown maybe a QuickBooks or a Xero or a Sage 50 and could be using Intacct that may not be as obvious to them or to their accountants? What are those kind of trigger points?
Before I get to the trigger points, I think it's also just, we as a company need to do a better job of helping the industry and these accounting firms in Canada understand what's available to them. I think that's kind of step one. And, we'll endeavor to do that and make sure that, the firms across Canada understand what this program is and how we can help them. With respect to, certain examples, I think as we talk to more firms and get more engaged, really we can get to an understanding pretty quickly of where that firm wants to go and what their interest level is. And again, providing a wider scope of services and higher value service to their clients. So I think it's getting the word out, having better discussions, really understanding which firms are the ones that, want to make that leap and we will help them make that leap. And we've got, partners like yourself that can help make that happen. But I think it's on us to really have the market better understand what's available to them and how they can leverage it. Because I think if we took a survey of a lot of the firms in Canada, they probably are using, various tools, but probably on the low end, like some of the ones that you mentioned, earlier, and that includes Sage. And within Sage, our main goal is to keep Sage customers within the Sage families. If they're on Sage 50 and, 300 or Intacct is the next move. We want to make sure they stay with us, or if they move to, something like this service, we want to make sure that they stay within our families. So again, on us to really have the market better understand what the capability is and how they can leverage it and what this program is, and then aligning that to the right firms that have, the ambition to kind of move forward and move up market.
And to that point, when it comes to Canada, I think when most people hear Sage, they think about that Sage 50, the Sage Business Cloud. What would you want accounting firms to know about the difference between what Intacct is and what those other products are, and how to reposition in their minds what Sage can bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, the products Sage as a company offers a great portfolio, right? So it doesn't matter how big or small you are. If you need an accounting platform, we probably have the right fit for you. But when you look at Intacct, I mean, company's business becomes more complex. Some of those tools may not cut it. So, things like time financial visibility or more industry specific functionality, getting into eventually more AI powered capabilities, those types of things are becoming more prevalent in the market. People are looking for that. Again, it's not going to be for everybody, but for firms that are kind of in that position where they are growing, things are changing in their business, they need a product with more capability that addresses more needs. Intacct will be the best fit for them versus some of our other solutions.
Great. And in the same line of sort of the region specific, I'm pretty in tune with what goes on with Sage, but I believe, and tell me if I'm correct here, that you guys have a dedicated development team specifically for regionals capabilities and needs, whether that's GST or VAT, there's provincial tax and so forth. Can you just talk a little bit about how Sage is investing in Canada as a region when it comes to Intacct and the type of capabilities that firms can expect when it comes to what is needed by Canadian businesses?
Yeah, we have somebody based here in Toronto actually that his sole purpose is to get feedback from our partners and our clients on what are needs specific to the Canadian market. And then he funnels that directly to our product development team. So we actually, as a geography, we actually get more than our fair share of development resources. So as things change in the market or we need features that may not be available today, we actually have a direct pipeline to our product development people for very Canadian specific requirements. And that also includes French requirements in Quebec. If you look at taxes in Canada, PST, HST, it's very different across provinces. And I think I mentioned earlier, kind of the geopolitical climate in Canada has changed with some of the things going on in North America. So a lot of Canadians are buying from Canadian companies, which will allow maybe Canadian companies today to spread their wings coast to coast across Canada. So they'll have to deal with different taxations across different provinces. And I think that's going to continue to be something they'll be looking at. As some companies are growing maybe more quickly and attracting foreign investment, they may want to move from like ASPE to IFRS, which, is a more robust solution to manage those requirements. So we'll make sure that we're always getting ahead of those. And that's really because, care about this business. We know it's different than other markets. And again, we have a dedicated resource who just thinks about product development for Intacct in Canada all day long. So I think from that standpoint, we'll always be a partner that's there to support Canadian specific requirements.
I'm really glad you brought up ASP versus the IFRS. How do you think that Intacct really supports those type of reporting needs better than some of the other products that I mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Matt. I can't get into like, the dirty details of it. I know the capabilities there and we support it, but it's just another example of the capabilities that we'll put in the product to support, our customers as their needs change.
I really want to talk a little bit about firms going up market and growing up market. And we touched on this a little bit, but if you were to get asked by a accounting firm in Canada why they should consider investing in going up market into a product like Intacct. And then what I would say is I'm going to put words in your mouth that you would say, hey, there's a place for true small business accounting platforms that you have currently, and there's a place also for your upmarket solutions. Why would you, or what would you tell firms considering going up market, why they should consider it?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think when you're on the lower end of the market, there's a lot of cost pressures. It's much more competitive. There's more firms offering similar services. So if they really want to distinguish themselves and maybe access, higher value clients or, maybe move to different industries, whatever it might be, that could allow them, again, to drive more services, be able to attract, higher fees. And if they really want to, transition from being kind of a more transactional firm to offering more advisory services, those are the types of things that they should be looking at. And again, like I said earlier, it's not for everybody. Not every firm wants to take that step. But I think, again, if they really want to distinguish themselves in market, maybe attract new clients or better support the clients they have kind of in their portfolio that may be growing, or, things might be changing in their business that requires maybe a different approach, or, a different lens on, their day to day and how they operate. I think those are all good reasons to move up market. But again, not for everybody, but I think for the ones who have that ambition, there's ways to get there. And, technology and, a platform like Sage Intacct is one that'll help them get there.
Well, I think, if we go back to your intro, your career has been really centered around partner management and partner development. Can you talk to me a little bit about sort of the different characteristics a firm has that would indicate to you that they would be a great fit for Sage Intacct Accountants in Canada?
Yeah, if you look at partners I've worked with over the years, the ones that have, that are a little bit more visionary, that are not, clients are always going to have needs for, X, Y, and Z. And a lot of partners can just deliver that. But it's the ones that realize that their clients are changing, the economy is changing, whatever the economic environment is changing, whatever it might be. They're the ones who are kind of already looking ahead to understand, kind of what's next. Right now, everybody's, AI is the big focus. Are a lot of companies adopting AI? No, but they all want to hear about it. So that's an example. If you're not armed and ready to talk about, how AI can help your client, as an example, then, you're probably going to be in that bucket of partners that are just, they can continue to be more transactional, provide clients what they ask for. But the ones that are kind of looking ahead will provide their clients with insights about things they may not even be thinking about today, which again is more value. So if I'm going to work with somebody that's thinking about my business, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, or someone who's just going to, provide what I ask them for, there's a lot of value there. And again, not every partner is going to be built that way, but I love to find those ones because they're the ones who kind of get where we're going, understand the investments that we're making. And as the product evolves, they're the ones who are going to take you know, those value added features to their clients and have them understand, why they should be leveraging them. So yeah, you can kind of determine pretty quickly which ones fall in which bucket. And we need both. Like, I'm not saying one is better than the other because both add value, and it depends on kind of what you're trying to accomplish. You typically need both. But right now, moving up market, adding more value to clients, and again, providing higher level advisory services, you need that kind of visionary type partner that's always looking ahead.
So we're coming close to time, and I have two final questions for you. First one, I'll do this one first.
Is it
So
about the Olympics?
no, it's not
Oh,
about the
okay.
sorry.
I'll get over.
So if firm is thinking about Sage Intacct Accountants and investing in Sage Intacct, what would be your one piece of advice or a something you'd want to be able to tell them directly to them?
I would tell them that, if their goal is to move up market, understand that what you may be using today may not meet those needs. And we'd love to have a conversation with you. Where we love talking to our clients, understanding their business, talking to these accounting firms, understanding how they go to market. And would love just the opportunity to sit down over a coffee and talk about what Intact can do for them and why it can add more value than some of the other tools they may be using or may be more familiar with. Yeah, we're very passionate about SMBs in Canada, and we think that Sage Intacct is a great solution. And Sage Intacct for Accountants is an amazing program, and would love to talk to more firms about it.
Amazing. My last question. I'm sorry to do this to you. I'm gonna put you on the spotlight here. I think I saw that you just won an award recently, and I think I saw that in LinkedIn. Can you tell me a little bit about that award and what that means to you?
Yeah, it was actually the CRN Channel Chiefs for 2026, which was a great honor to have. I guess what it means, it just validates that some of the things that we're doing in our ecosystem, you know, people are noticing it. That it's driving value. I know that when I talk to the partners in Canada, they feel a difference here now under new leadership. We're building more trust. We want them to be successful. We want to make sure that they're heard. And I think all of that drives towards, a very healthy partner ecosystem. And, and to be, given, that type of award, is always very flattering. Hopefully, it becomes, I can go on a bit of a run with that one. We'll see in 2027. But yeah, it was a really nice accolade. And when you can post something on LinkedIn and get such amazing comments and feedback, it just helps validate that the people value kind of the things that you're doing, and hopefully you're doing the right things, taking the right approach.
Well, I think that's a really important sort of finale to this conversation. I think that award really exemplifies what this program is all about and what you're all about when it comes to delivering this program. And some of the feedback that we've seen is that sometimes accounting firms didn't feel like they had a true partnership. And I think you're trying to change that message. And Sage Intacct Accountants is really truly about how to support the firms in their success.
Yeah, 100%. That's where, we're trying to get to. And I'm very confident that we will. And again, always looking for opportunities to talk to more firms about the offering. And Matt, really appreciate, taking the time to speak with me today. Hopefully, it was exciting as you'd hoped, but yeah, I
It was
appreciate the
perfect.
time.
It was perfect. Thank you very much. It was great, chatting with you today, and, I think I'm seeing you in a couple weeks, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we are. We'll have a nice dinner and a drink for sure.
Yeah, I hold you to that. Alright, thanks.
Thanks, Matt.